We welcome you to another episode in our Doorway to Sindh webinar series, presented by Sindhi Culture Foundation and the Embassy Group, providing you a glimpse of Sindhi history and culture. Sindh was the home of Buddhism from the 1st century to the 10th century. Quoting from Dr. Kalhoro, as recorded in the historical accounts of Yunsang, with 460 monasteries, 33 stupas, and 26,000 monks, most of the Hinaya school showing how well represented and influential the Sindhi Buddhists were. I would like to welcome Dr. Zulfikar Ali Kalhoro and Dr. Rajesh Kumar Singh to expand more on the Buddhist heritage of Sindh. Thank you very much for joining us today, and we are very grateful for your presence. I now invite Amrita Sararangani to continue.
Thank you very much, Aruna. I am Executive Director to the Gujarat Biotechnology University Project, a novel higher education program between the world-leading University of Edinburgh and the Gujarat government to create a new institution, putting innovation and excellence at its core to deliver biotechnology solutions for society's needs. I led the University of Edinburgh South Asia Regional Center from 2010 to 2020, and I'm interested in the transformational power of higher education. I am also a very proud and very curious Sindhi. It is my pleasure to introduce Dr. Zulfikar Ali Kalhoro, who is an anthropologist and an assistant professor at the Department of Developmental Studies in the Pakistan Institute of Developmental Economics in Islamabad. He completed his PhD in Asian Studies with focus on Kalhora history and architecture in Sindh from Quaid-e-Azam University, Islamabad. His main area of interest is religion and art of Pakistan, especially in Sindh. He has also researched in the Punjab, Balochistan, and Gilgit-Baltistan provinces of Pakistan on religion, heritage, Sufism, folk art, asceticism, and Islamic architecture. Before joining the Pakistan Institute of Developmental Economics, he worked in the Taxila Institute of Asian Civilizations under the guidance of late Ahmad Hassan Dani, and studied culture and art of Gilgit-Baltistan. He has worked on the representation of women in folk romance paintings of Sindh. One of his books, entitled Perspectives on the Art and Architecture of Sindh 2014, deals with the lesser-known heritage of Sindh. Apart from Islamic art and architecture, he has also written several articles on Sufism, Hindu and Sikh heritage of Pakistan. His three most recent books, Memorial Stones, Tharparkar 2017, and Archaeology, Art and Religion in Sindh 2018, and Symbols in Stone, Rock Art of Sindh, deal with the cultural heritage of Sindh. Currently, he is working on two research projects: Women Islamic Mysticism in Pakistan, Reflections on Female Sufi Saints and Their Shrines, and Honor, Identity and Religion in Indus, Kohistan, Pakistan. Welcome, Dr. Kalhoro. It is my pleasure also now to introduce Dr. Rajesh Kumar Singh, who is an independent researcher in art history. His area of research focuses on Buddhist rock-cut monuments of India. He was a senior lecturer at the Institute of Fine Arts, Modinagar, Meerut University from 2001 to 2004, and was also a lecturer at the Department of Art History, Maharaja Sayajirao University of Baroda from 2008 to 2010. Presently, he is the director of the Hari Sena Press Private Limited, and his publications include Early Hunnic Invasions and Abandonment of Buddhist Temples in India, Kingala versus Buddhist Caves, a synchronized chronology of the early Alkan Huns, early Guptas, Vatakas, and Buddhist caves. 2020 periodicization of rock-cut monuments of India. Dr. Singh has many publications in many academic peer-reviewed journals and is a member of many academic bodies. It is my pleasure to introduce the audience of the Sindhi Culture Foundation talk to the conversation between Dr. Kalhoro and Dr. Singh. Over to you.
Professor Kalhoro, what a pleasure to be a part of a dialogue that is taking place on the Sindhi culture and civilization, and started by the Sindhi Culture Foundation. And I'm kind of proud to be a part of it. As someone who has been studying the archaeology of the Buddhist rock cut monuments in India, I have been always very curious to learn about what was happening on the northeast of India. And we all know so much about the art of Gandhara, and we have sufficient knowledge also on the kind of Buddhism that flourished in Takshila. But we have so little knowledge about Buddhism that flourished in the Sindh region. And I also have my own ignorance, and I was looking forward to get some insights and knowledge. So my first question to you is that you kindly give an overview to us, about Buddhism in Sindh. We know that started right from the time of Ashoka and went up to the 13th century, long period. But you have a vast working experience in Sindh and Buddhist archaeology. You are the best expert. So kindly enlighten us about Buddhist monuments in Sindh.
Thank you, Dr. Rajesh, for your kind words. Yes, as you mentioned yourself that we know about Gandhara and other regions as far as Buddhism is concerned. But unfortunately, since Buddhist heritage is not very much known as compared to other regions in Pakistan or even in India, we know a lot about Indian research or studies on Buddhism. So, but in Sindh, I think there are quite few scholars who have done research on stupa structures which are located in different parts of Sindh. But before I discuss about Buddhist archaeological sites in Sindh, I just wanted to give you a very brief introduction about Buddhist history in Sindh. As Madam Aruna briefly introduced Buddhism in his introductory remarks, that there were more than 20,000 monks and 100 monasteries and 33 stupas. And this basically information was first given by, as we know that this information was first given by Buddhist pilgrim Yunus Sian, who traveled through Sindh. It was he who very, briefly discussed about some of the stupa structures in Greater Sindh. When he said Greater Sindh, he also meant the Makran part of today's Balochistan. So, according to his information, according to his account, the Sindhi Buddhism, the section, the Sindhi Buddhism was a Samitya Buddhism, and that was basically part of the Hinayana school. So, Hinayana school was basically dominant in Sindh when he traveled throughout Sindh. So, this is a very brief introduction that we know about Sindh's history or history of Buddhism. So, as far as structures are concerned, Dr. Rajesh, we have a large number of Buddhist archaeological sites in Sindh, right from Upper Sindh to the south in Badin and Chata and other districts of Sindh. But I just wanted to give you, share the names of some of the prominent sites. So that include Dhimajodaro and Kahujodaro. Kahujodaro is one of the very famous Buddhist site in Mirpurkhas district, and it was first excavated by British archaeologists and administrators, and who discovered some artifacts from that particular site that we call Kahujodaro. So apart from Kahujodaro, we also have some artifacts which were discovered from Sudheran Jodhpur, and this basically Buddhist site is located in Tandol Muhammad Khan district. And apart from these two important Buddhist sites, we have third most important site which we call Thul Mir Rukun. So this is in Nawab Shah district, and then we have Dhamarajodaro in Ladkana, Manyeraiji Madi in Chata district, and Kot Shirni in Noshero Feroz, and Sahi Parts in Sakhar, Gulab Shah Jo Dado in Ladkana district again, Soneti Jo Dado again in Ladkana, Mari Jo Dado, this is again in Ladkana. Then we have a very beautiful standing structure in Ning Valley in Jamshoro district. So these are some of the Buddhist archaeological sites, particularly the stupas and monasteries that we have in Sindh. Apart from these sites, there's another beautiful site of Ranipur. From Ranipur, there's a village in Ranipur from where interesting artifacts were discovered. And most of these artifacts were made of, these are terracotta, tablets which depicted Buddha in various postures. When you look at the terracotta tablets, so Buddha is shown in different mudras. When we see look at his formation of his hands, so sometimes he's shown in dhyana mudra, sometimes he's shown in teaching postures, and sometimes he's shown in a standing position, and sometimes he's depicted seated, and then on either side of image of Buddha, we see votive stupas. So these are some of the Buddhist sites from where we also discovered terracotta tablets. All the terracotta tablets depicted Buddha in various postures. Dr. Rajesh?
Sir, would you please tell me, because this is such a vast area, and you have given the name of so many sites, and I mean, architecturally, is there anything preserved? We do, I mean, monument are there for us to see, or is it all gone?
I think there is only one stupa monument in Nawab Shah district, which is locally called Mirpurkhas. From its present structure or architecture, we can say that there was like a tower-like stupas in Sindh as well. So this is the only surviving monument. So based on its style of architecture, we can say, oh, this is a typical tower-like structure. And in tower-like structure, we call it in Sindhi full. So it looks like a full, means tower-like structure. So this is like one of the dominant forms of stupa that existed, but especially in 7th and 8th century AD. And similar structure we have in rock art and Sindh. That I will discuss in detail later on. So if you have any other question, so I can.
And can you please tell me, first of all, the geographical border of Sindh, cultural area, Buddhist cultural area, where you see that, I mean, was something different in Sindh compared to the Buddhism that we see in other parts of Pakistan?
I think mostly the material was different as compared to other regions of Pakistan. So in Sindh, it was more, the terracotta, and it was more like, these were mainly built of the burnt bricks, the terracotta. Terracotta were used to decorate the exterior of the stupa. So like this was the main material that was used in the stupas in Sindh. And even the wood was used, but you see, it was a very perishable, so we don't have much evidence to discuss or to rely on that how much and where it was used. But yes, wood was also used, but the main material was basically the burnt bricks, or the baked bricks.
So when is the last date for terracotta material?
The last date?
Yeah, that is up to which period? Because in India, sorry.
Yeah, please go ahead.
In India, we after 5th century we get far less terracotta material than before 5th century AD. So what's the situation in Sindh?
But this style of decorating stupa with terracotta continued up to the 7th century.
I have something to learn from you. In Ashokan times, uh, what kind of Buddhist architecture do we see in Sindh?
Yeah, you see, in Sindh we don't have like such evidence as yet. I mean, since there's no study which say anything about Ashokan period stupas in Sindh. But the most of the style that we have are from, the sites that I just discovered. It is from Sudharan Juthul, in Muhammad Khan, or Mirpurkhas. Mirpurkhas is basically a 5th century AD. So it is not like earlier. So if we go a little earlier than the 5th century, so then we have a more domed structures. Even Kahujo Doro stupa was is it like towered, and then it is surmounted with a anda, and then we see all the architectural features that we see in the stupa. So like harmika and anda and the chatra and other things. But in other stupas, we don't see such like elements. In Tolumirukun, it is simple tower-like without dome. So what I believe, based on my own research that I have done on rock art, so I see some of very interesting domed structures. So then I believe that domed stupas are earlier than tower-like stupas. And this style was very much in vogue in 2nd century AD, from 2nd century AD to the 4th century AD. So like all the domed structures belong to the 2nd century AD, and this style continued up to the 4th century AD. And then we have, interestingly, some the Gupta Brahmi inscriptions, along with these stupa structures or stupa engraving in the rock art of Sindh.
So are these all what Kushrana material, or do you also have Gupta material?
Yes. Some are very interesting question. Some are of Kushan period, and interestingly, in one of the rock art sites, I discovered a depiction of a shrine, and how and why I call it a shrine, because there were figures of 3 deities. The similar deities, the style of the deities we see on the Kushan period, the Kushan gold coins, the Skando, Komaro, Gizago, and Mahasino. And these are basically 3 deities that we see on the Kushan or maybe a Kushan period Kanishka gold coins. The similar shrine that I have discovered in the rock art. And this is actually interesting discovery of the finding. And then when I discovered this typical Kushan period shrine in rock art, then there was also stupas side by side with shrines. And these stupas were also like the dome stupas. And some other features like sopana, means stairways. You can see the platform, the medi. So like then we can say, okay, this is typical Kushan period stupa. So like in later period, particularly the stupa which were in vogue, which were prevalent in 7th century, we don't see like the clear the prominent features. For instance, we don't see stairway or the sopana. We don't see the medi or the platform. It's simple tower-like. But in Kushan period and earlier than Kushan period, we see all these features that I'm discussing, be it stairway, medi, or some other features of stupas. Yes, Dr.
And please tell me whether you see, because there was, I'm very much interested in 5th century. Do you think Sindh faced a destruction of any kind by the Huns?
I don't think so that they faced any destruction by this tribe. So we don't have much to say that, yes, look, this is the basically the things that were destroyed by the white ones. So I don't see any evidence as far as my own research is concerned or what I have read. So I don't see any restriction as far as Sindh part is concerned.
Okay, see, the question is that we know that the Guptas were under attack, right? In the 5th century AD, the Guptas were under attack, and Toramana, the first Punic, the Hoon, established control and state in India. And we all know that where he came from, because he belongs to the Alchan or Alkhan Hoon tribe. And so Hephthalites were there in Iran. And so Hephthalites first attacked Gandhara and took it from the Alkhans and chased them away. So so they came towards Takshila, and then he was chased away even from Takshila, and then he came, and we have a Skandagupta's inscription in Junagadh, so we know where Junagadh is. So geopolitics we have, and archaeology, epigraphy we have to. I actually need your help to piece together and make a sense of it. So in Junagadh, he takes the name of the Hoon, and he says that it was a difficult time. He even had to sleep on the bare earth, and Mlechas and all that. He calls them Mlechas, etc. So we know it's a published history that the Guptas were being attacked by the Huns. The thing is, and the geography of Junagadh, Gujarat, and so he was under attack by the Huns right in the 5th century AD, the time when Sindh is flourishing, Mirpurkhas is flourishing, Takshila is flourishing, everything is flourishing. And now these Huns are coming, and he's finding it a difficult time. In my research, I found more and more evidence. So I was wondering, what happened to Mirpurkhas during the 5th century AD, or do you have any kind of evidence? Because where would they come from? They would either come from the north, that is from the Punjab and Kashmir, or they would come from the Gujarat region. They cannot probably come from this because of the difficulty of this Indus River and all this kind of, the Thar desert. So either from the north or from the south. In the case of south, if they come, they have to come through Mirpurkhas, they have to come through Lakhpat, they have to face it, they have to go through Sindh. And why would they spare Sindh? They are the questions I'm asking you.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, they might have. This is all based on the guesswork, since we don't have any epigraphy to support our argument. And you're right, since you have done research in that part of, region that you just mentioned, that is Junagadh. So we have not yet any written evidence in the form of epigraphy or anything else that says that, oh, this part of area was invaded or attacked by the white ones or others. Yes, and I think maybe in future there would be studies on the point that you have raised, and it is very interesting actually to focus on. So we have not yet found anything that say, oh, this was ransacked or invaded and attacked by the white ones. But yes, you're right. When we see that these areas were very flourishing, very thriving, Buddhism community was very thriving. But we see then after Gupta, then there are other communities or other rulers coming in Sindh and ruled in Sindh. But we don't see that they destroyed these structures. I think they lived. I think since culture is different from others, I think it was more tolerant. I think if we talk about the Buddhist community in Sindh, and even the Sasanians who ruled in Sindh, even in Sasanian period, we see the very beautiful stupa structures that were constructed in different parts of Sindh, and even in rock art, we see the symbols of both Sasanians and Buddhist. So I think this part is like lacking, and I think maybe scholars have escaped their attention, and they should pay some attention to study this, uh, some syncretic element maybe explored. So
Is
I
there,
think this
is
is
there,
my only response to your
is
query.
there, is there any book on Buddhism in Sindh?
I think, as I told you in the beginning, there's some scholars who have done some research on Sindh Buddhism. Dr. Mastoor Fatima Bukhari, I think he has done her PhD on Sindh Buddhism. But the best, I think, the work on Sindh Buddhism is by the MacLean, and that is the Religion and Society of Arab period. And he based his research on the Chachnama and other the documents and other accounts. I think it is one of the very scholarly and academic work that one should read if one wanted to know more about the society and the culture that existed in Sindh before before Arab arrivals at Sindh. That is by MacLean, Religion and Society of Arab period. So you must read, Dr. Rajesh, if you wanted to know more about Sindh Buddhism.
Yes, I'm very
And it
curious.
is he who basically then discuss about all the why Sindh was more prone to the Hinayana, then how Hinayana and Mahayana both intermingled, and then there was then image was created. The uh, in second or in third century AD, there was no image worship in Sindh, and Buddha was worship in symbolic representations. So be it lotus and other symbols. So then later on, because Hinayana dominated, and then maybe some factors that forced both communities, like both sects of Buddhism, Hinayana and Mahayana, to come together, and then they intermingled, and then they created images in different parts of Sindh. And I think Kahuju Dodo is the best example, because in Kahuju Dodo we find very elaborate terracotta tablets in which we can see the interesting Buddhist rendering as far as the style is concerned. And it was mostly from the 6th century AD. And these the artifacts which were discovered from Kahuju Dodo are now I think placed in different museums. Even some are placed in, I think, in Mumbai, or some in other museum in India. The artifacts which were discovered from Kahuju Dodo, unfortunately, was taken away by the British archaeologists and were placed in some museums in India.
It is there in Mumbai, in
Yeah, it's
Princess
Mumbai.
Museum. And they have recently reconstructed in 3D or something and published a book recently. The director of the museum and is doing research on Mirpurkhas. But I would like to ask you a question in this regard, in the context. When the Buddha image appears first in Sindh?
I think it's very difficult to give you the exact date, but I think it was more in maybe in the 3rd or 4th century AD.
3rd and 4th.
Third or maybe third or 4th, because you see, 3rd or 4th, because in Sindh's rock art, I mean, there are more than 30,000 petroglyphs, but not a single Buddha image was made. And this is interesting, because in that part, which is western part of Sindh, I believe that was basically inhabited by Hinayana Buddhists. And
so the case is why I'm asking a question. The question will interest you also. That in the Indian part of Sindh, in Gujarat, we have some Buddhist sites. Like we have Talaja, we have Siot, and there are 2 other sites. Okay, the names are difficult, so I'm not telling you. even I'm forgetting the name, but I have made a list of all the Buddhist sites and in Gujarat. The case in Gujarat, because it was all one part of it. It was all one region, right? So we are talking about the time when India, Pakistan did not exist. You know, it was one cultural area. So the interesting thing is, in Gujarat, we do not see the Buddha image up to 5th century AD. Never before. In Devani Mori, we have a site called Devani Mori. And again in Siot also, the Buddha image does not appear before 5th century AD.
Yeah, you're right.
So I'm wondering when the Buddha image, because you know, across the Indus, on that part of the Indus, on the part of the Indus, things will not change so dramatically. What did not happen in Gandhara, we have right from 50 BC Buddha image. In Taxila we have, but in Gujarat we never had. Okay, but in Mathura we had right from the 1st century AD. Mathura was a very different scenario. Kashmir was a different scenario. So I have a question about Sindh. Is it possible that just like in Gujarat, also in Sindh, Buddha image perhaps did not exist before the 5th century AD?
Yeah, I told you, because you see, I told you before 5th century, there was no Buddha image. And this is one of the reasons that I told you that we have more than 30,000 petroglyphs. And I was amazed to see not a single Buddha image was engraved. Why? Because I believe that part was predominantly concentrated by Hinayana, sect of the Buddhism. And I believe that Kahujudaro was basically mainly, we find artifacts of 6th century AD. So it's 6th century, not before that. And I believe that might be there are some other stupa structures in Sindh. It was possible that image was created in 5th century AD in Sindh, and then later on it traveled to migrated to the Gujarat, because this was, it's very side by side, so not far away. So it is quite possible that it was created in either in 4th century or 5th century. Maybe I think a century before it arrived or it went to the Gujarat. So this is one of the reasons.
And Professor, I would also like to know from you, you mentioned about the shrines, archaeological remains of shrines. So can you please give us a picture of what kind of shrine do you see there? What is the structure? What is the plan?
No, I'm talking about its depiction in rock art, not the physical structure.
Or the depicted? Okay.
Yeah, I just hear that interestingly, I found a depiction of a shrine. It's like a rectangle structure, and then there is an entrance, and then there's a canopy. Under the canopy, we see 3 figures, and the 3 figures with their feet like typical in the Kushan style, and one both feet oriented to north and south, and the similar style of 3 figures one can see on Kanishka period gold coins. Yeah, I mean, this is basically the depiction that I was discussing. Just look on the left, Dr. Rajesh, you can see a shrine, and on the left you can see the depiction, and the right you can see the gold coin of Kanishka period from Gandhara, and see the style of 3 deities standing under the canopy or under the niche. And these are basically the legend of 3 deities of Kushan period.
Okay, sir. Do we know who are these deities?
Kumaro, Skando, Mahasino, and Bizago. These are the names of the deities of Kushan period.
Oh.
The names of these deities are Skando, Kumaro, 1, Mahasino, and Bizago. Mahasino is basically in the center, flanked by the Bizago and Skando tomorrow. So this is okay.
So how do they become a Buddhist? This is more of a royal than religious.
No. We're not talking about these deities whether they were Buddhists or not, but this, the cult of these deities were prevalent in the Kushan period.
And they are definitely royal figures. They are not yakshis, right? Yakshis.
No, but you see the scholars who are who are experts on Gandhara, they call them the deities. You can later on Google and see the cult of these three deities.
Something I would like to now.
Should I stop the screen sharing? Can I?
Yeah. Can you also show the other examples if you have? Right.
Yeah. I mean, we were discussing about Yes, let me share you the structure, tower-like structure that we're discussing. This is like the Thul Mirpurkhas stupa. It's like tower-like stupa that you're asking about. That is there any standing Buddhist stupa from where we can say or we can assume or construct its architecture. So this is one of the the surviving monuments in Sindh. So it's like a more in tower-like structure, and this is like a closer view of the same Buddhist stupa, and this is like so the ritual that I just discussed, and these are the artifacts which were discovered from Sudheran Jothul. And this tablet shows Buddha, probably in Abhaya Mudra style, and with votive stupas, teaching Buddha in teaching style. So, Dr. Rajesh, I was talking about stupa images in Sindh's rock art, and when we talk about style of stupa in rock art, I classify into four different categories. One is like dome, tower-like, multi-tiered stupa with or without dome, and then decorative, and the last is anthropomorphic stupa. So, like, let me just share with you the some of the images very quickly. See, this is like typical stupa, domed stupa, and these are the tower-like stupas from different parts of Sindh. And this is decorative style, and these decorative, they are basically, I believe that represent the terracotta tiles that were used on the decoration on the stupas. And this is the last decorative stupa. See the style. When I say, you see this is multi-tiered style of stupa. We have in Sindh, and same the multi-tiered stupas can be seen at Alsi Bridge in Ladakh. See the style. It's like the Indus from upper to the lower. So style, the migrated, symbols. You see how symbols migrated, and this is how style migrated from upper to the lower. So this is like all from my part. If you have any questions, so please.
This is very interesting. Very interesting. Do you have more slides?
Yeah, but I think I have more. This is like the typical anthropomorphic stupa with a human face.
I mean, how do we know this is a stupa?
Because you see, we have evidence, a lot of evidence in Pakistani rock art where we see stupa in the in the form of like a human. You see the face and the the eyes and ears and others, and the lower part is a typical stupa.
We do not have any such example in India.
Yeah, we have some stupa, some evidence from upper Indus Valley also, especially in Gilgit-Baltistan. That was also discussed by Dr. Emerson Dani in his book, Chilas, the City of Nagaparvat. In this book, he discussed about anthropomorphic stupa in Chilas.
Very interesting. Yeah, to your wonderful discussion and the knowledge that you shared, I wanted to add something from the Indian side of the border.
Yeah, we wanted to hear from you. Yeah, sure, please share your.
So we have a place called Lakhpat, far from Mirpurkhas. I'm so unfortunate. I've not visited Pakistan so far, and haven't studied the archaeology there. But one day I would like to visit and see the archaeological sites in Pakistan. But in Google Earth, I try to map it, and what I found? These Siot caves, Buddhist caves in Siot in Lakhpat, in Gujarat, in Kutch, is just 192 kilometers as the crow flies. Just less than 200 kilometers, from Mirpurkhas. And the kind of ceilings which you were showing from Mirpurkhas, a few artifacts, the ceilings which you have shown, exactly same kind of ceilings have been found in Siot caves.
Oh, interesting.
Yes. Same motif. In fact, I could mistake it as a ceiling from Siot if you are not sure, say it's from Mirpurkhas. It's just 200 kilometers. You cross it. This is some kind of this delta, which is a delta is there. It's a very difficult terrain and not easy to go because run is there and difficult. It's all salt pains are there. So difficult to cross. But this is the way they came over here in Gujarat. And from the Gujarat, all the traffic of Buddhism from India to Pakistan and beyond, and from there to India, because monastics were going. This is the place from where they entered. So here is the Siot caves. And something I would like to tell you something very interesting about Siot. Siot is a very unfortunate archaeological site. Firstly, because it's in a poor state of preservation. I wanted to put it on record so that to attract the listeners' attention that we should do something about this Buddhist heritage of Gujarat, which we are not protecting well. Point number one, it's open. Anybody can go and write the names. Millions of people have already visited. In the
vandalism is going on.
They have written their names.
Vandalism is going on.
So if we are proud Gujaratis, proud Indians, proud Sindhis, we should do something about this monument. There is simply a board over there of Gujarat tourism, and that's it. And otherwise there is nobody there. A lot of people have put YouTube videos. You can go and see yourself. The local people have put the videos, some tourists. You can see the state of preservation, number one. Point number two. There is a shrine over there. There is a shrine over there. It's very interesting. It's a central shrine. It's a flat roof cave. And it has a square ambulatory, not apsidal. It's not round. It's a square ambulatory, and there is a shrine. Now, this kind of Buddhist shrine is never to be found in India before the 5th century AD. So I'm very curious about the shrine type which you have shown in Sindh, in the Pakistani side of Sindh. Okay, because I'll tell you, according to my research, this square shrine type in Buddhist context, we have not found before 5th century AD. There are only two exceptions. One exception is a Nasik cave number 8, I think. But that shrine was left incomplete. It's a square shrine, but left incomplete, never completed. But that guy was also, the patron was from Bactria. He was a Yavana who came from Bactria, number one. And there is one more shrine in Maharashtra, which is also a square shrine. But that shrine type was also left complete and never continued in rock cut architecture, ever. So apart from those two exceptions, we have these stupa shrines. Stupa shrine is very much different, where you have the stupa in the center, and then either you have the flat ceiling, or you have the vaulted ceiling and apsidal back. So stupa temple architecture and plan is very, very different. In stupa temple and stupa shrine, we never have a square sanctum sanctorum with square ambulatory. Does not exist. It is there in Siot, and it was visible in the artifacts, those three deities which you have shown.
Yeah, it is very interesting. And even you see, Dr. Rajesh, let me tell you that when I first shared this image with my friends who were working on Gandhara, they were amazed to see. Even they said, "Oh, we never saw such interesting depiction in rock art." So gold coins were, and it was only depicted on Kanishka period gold coins. So one of the experts told me that you should separately write on this shrine. Then I told him that actually I'm writing a book. The title of the book is Stupa Images in the Rock Art of Pakistan, and discussing the stupa style in different regions of Pakistan: Sindh, Balochistan, KPK, Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, Punjab, and Upper Indus Valley, Pakistan. And in that book, I have discussed different styles of stupa that existed in Sindh, both its physical structures as well as in its depiction in rock art. Right from in Khirthar, the western part of Sindh, and even in the Karachi division. I have written a book on the rock art of Karachi. Interestingly, I have found a large number of rock art sites in Karachi, and stupa images were amazing. And so, hopefully, I will discuss all in my book, and I hope that book basically will be very useful for those who are more interested in Pakistan. Thank you very much, and thank you very much for your interesting questions and for your time. And I must say, thank you everyone for for giving me a chance to share my research that I have been doing on Buddhism, especially on Buddhist traditions and rock art of Sindh.
Dr. Kalhuro, Dr. Singh, thank you very much for a hugely enlightening and interesting and engaging discussion on Buddhism in Sindh and the connections potentially thereof. I think there is a lot more in terms of stories to tell and a deeper understanding to be developed. And we hope that there is further focus on work around this area going forward. So thank you very much again.
Thank you.
अजब उतर पार दे ताड़े की तवार अजब उतर पार दे ताड़े की तवार हारन हर संभारा मुझा सरया ता संकार अजब मुझे यार वसन गावे सकिया अजब उतर पार दे ओ अजब उतर पार दे ककर तो कार करे अज पो उत्तर पार दे ककर तो कार करे वसे तो वड पुड़ियो कालक खंड भरे विजण निशान वरे मुझ सकार सुख दिए हो तो के सिंधड़ी सारे हो तो के सिंधड़ी सारे